Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Brett's Brain. Today we're going to talk about how to think about timing your next fundraise. Hey, I'm Brett, former entrepreneur, current venture capitalist. Thanks so much for checking out this channel. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, and ask us questions. Our goal is to help entrepreneurs succeed, so let us know how we can help you on your journey. Okay, the timing of a fundraise. It's actually a really important part of the journey, and it's really strategic in how to think about it. You should put a lot of time and effort into it. So let's pretend like you've raised a pre-seed round or an angel round or some sort of early money has come in. The right time to start thinking about your next fundraise is literally when the money hits the bank from your last fundraise. So you need to kind of work backwards. Where do we need to get? What kind of metrics do we need to have? So from the day, hopefully even before you went and raised your last round, you should be thinking about how much money do we need to get to the next fundraise? What are those metrics? What are those signs? What's the market need? So from day one of closing some money and putting it in your bank, you're starting to already think about your next fundraise and you're strategizing around how do you keep cash in the bank. One of the CEO's most important jobs is keep cash in the bank. There's only a couple things CEOs have to do. That's one of them, and probably the most important one. So you're thinking about your next fundraise from the day you close, and you're strategizing around it. Then you're tracking your metrics along whatever your projections were to understand, okay, when are we approaching that next fundraise? Are we starting to get to the metrics that we need? Are we on track to get the metrics that we need that will unlock that next round of capital? Because timing, you can have hey, we're gonna raise our next round 8 months from now, or we're gonna raise our round 15 months from now. None of that matters if you don't have the metrics. You can say that, but it's a bunch of BS if you don't have the metrics to actually do it. So what's more important is actually using your metrics to guide your timing. And from a timing perspective around fundraise, if you're not on track for metrics, you need to adjust plans. Say, okay, we're not going to hit a series seed metrics that we needed like we thought we were going to. Let's rethink our timing. And should we go out and raise a bridge right now? Should we go try and bring a little bit extra capital while we still have plenty of runway? One timing thing that's super important is you can't wait to start thinking about your next fundraise when you've only got 5 months of runway left or 4 months of runway left. A fundraise takes at least 5 months from start to finish right now. And so if you're waiting until you have 5 months of runway left, you're probably going to be a little bit too late. You need to constantly be thinking about where's that next round of capital coming from, and are we going to have the metrics to unlock that next up round, or are we going to have to do some sort of bridge or in between? And the earlier you can make those decisions, the better. Because timing matters. If you have very little runway left, it's going to be less likely that people are going to be willing to come in and put small checks in to help bridge you, to help extend runway. It's easier for an investor to say, yeah, we can give you $100,000 more. That adds, 3 more months of runway when you have 9 months left than it is when you have 1 month left. Because 4 months now isn't going to get you far enough along to get to that next milestone. So it's really important to think about timing from day one and then track. And how does your timing for that next fundraise change as you progress as a startup? It's something that if you have a board, you should be talking about at your board meetings or in a monthly meeting that you might have with a board member. Or if you just have close investors or close advisors, it's something that I put on the docket with every single one. Every time you talk to them, think about, here's where we're at from a cash flow position from a burn. Here's what we're thinking from a next fundraise. Here's where we're at metrics-wise relative to where we need to get to raise that next round of capital. So just be thoughtful about timing and when you need to start thinking about raising that next round of capital. And remember, you need to be starting building out your deck in your process at least 6-7 months before you run out of cash. Really important. Here's a couple other quick tips from timing is when you go to market or when you're getting ready to go to market. That first month, you're going to be building out your deck. You're going to get all your stuff ready. You're going to be working with investors, existing investors, and close people to build out your story like we've talked about. Then you're going to get ready to go to market. And one of the things I love doing before you actually go formally to market from a timing perspective is about 2 weeks before you go to market. If you have any friendly investors that have expressed interest at some point, as you go to them about 2 weeks before you go broadly to the market and say, hey, we're getting ready to go raise our next round of capital. We have a great relationship. Wanted to come to you first. We're going to go to market 2 weeks from now, but wanted to give you a first look. And you do that with 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 investors, hopefully. And you never know. One of them might, go early and put a term sheet down early. Otherwise, you really are prepared to then go to market on a specific date. So from a timing perspective, you actually do want to start a fundraise on a date. Pick a date, and then you go hard. Because you want to try and full on raise as a CEO. You can't, and I've talked about this a lot in prior videos, you can't just do it willy-nilly and talk to 1 or 2 funds a week. You just can't drive FOMO that way. So you actually want to have a date of when you're going to start. So make sure you put that into your plan from a timing perspective as well. Last thing is this would be a really good opportunity, and this is different from that bridge scenario, you're not gonna hit your metrics, is opportunistically. Never shut down the fact that hey, if a fund's really interested, even if you weren't thinking about fundraising at this moment in time, if somebody comes and says, hey, we're really interested, think about that from a timing perspective. Is it worthwhile going down that road? If you do, what are the benefits? What are the negatives? You might get a little lower valuation, but you might take future financing risk off the table. So don't be afraid to break out of what you were thinking from a timing perspective if opportunity arises and presents itself to you. So just a few things to think about from timing and how to think about your next fundraise. The biggest takeaway for me is make sure you're metrics driven and allow your metrics to drive the timing of your fundraises versus saying, we're gonna go fundraise on this day, because that's not the way it works. If I wanna go raise a Series A round and I'm gonna do it in October, nobody cares unless I have the metrics to actually be able to go out and do it. So use your metrics, track them, and allow that to adjust your timing of your fundraises and your fundraise strategy, and make sure you're thinking about it from day one of starting your business or raising your most recent round. Hope you liked it. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, and ask us questions. We'd be happy to help in your entrepreneurial journeys.